Just wait for the. Here we go. Yo, Simon, how's it going? See if you come in. Sorry, I'm a bit past. So I'm a bit past. I can see you, buddy. Can you hear me? Well, I think my man's in the bottom of the screen already, so I won't delay. I can see my man in the bottom of my screen. You won't be able to hear us, Casey, until I bring you into the screen. So hopefully you can hear me. All good, buddy. So I will get straight on with it then, because I've got the man here now. I can see him at the bottom of my screen. I've just been talking to him offline, trying to sort the link out. So what I'll do is I'll just get the promo going, and we'll try and get him in, and hopefully it all works with the man. Here we go. Knocking a few shapes to that. Yo, Andy, my man. Yes, my man, Tiago. Thank you very much for my Graham Noyce replica shirts. As you can see, Mr. Noyce will be wearing them. Former 500 world champion will be wearing them at our reunion. He'll be wearing them at our reunion. So thank you very much, Tiago. Check that man out on Facebook. Write down as well in your comments, Tiago, what the name of your company is again, and I'll give it a shout out as well. There we go. Right, let's try and bring the man in then, and hopefully it will work okay. Here we go. Let's try it, and hopefully Casey will be able to hear me.
I can hear you perfect. Can you hear me?
Yo, Casey, I can hear you.
Awesome.
Beautiful. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
No, thank you, my man. Much appreciated.
So what's going on, man? How's things going in the UK?
Yeah, it's very wet.
It's been raining here quite a bit in California too.
Oh, that makes us feel a bit better.
Yeah, this was so last minute, man. I barely got this computer going just in time. Pretty crazy how it worked out.
Like the racing days then, flat out, was it?
Yeah, this was more stressful than being on the gate for a main event.
Oh man, I know. I've been messing about with this for a bit before I come on as well, and was a bit struggling for time. I'm just saying thank you to my man here, Tiago, because he got these two shirts in the background. There's a British legend, Graham Noyce, who was a 500cc world champion, and he done some shirts for us. So there's his on the screen there, look. So you can check him out to get hold of them. So then, Casey, how has it been? How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Just been kind of hanging out in Northern California, coaching some kids, doing a few things, some odds and ends jobs, helping my buddy with his production line for a new water bottle company that's going to be coming out soon. It hasn't launched yet, but
okay, what's that called?
Doing little things here and there, but mostly just coaching and having fun, living the dream, man.
Do you enjoy that side of things, doing coaching with the kids and stuff?
I love it. I mean, that's kind of like my craft, you know. I don't really know how to do much else in life. You've never really had any other jobs, so yeah, coaching. I love doing that. I love helping out kids and getting mainly just kind of taking the bad habits that they might have and correcting them. But so a lot of the pro guys they don't need a lot of technique and form changes, right? They already know what to do. It's just
Yeah.
it's fitness and putting laps together that are consistent
Yeah.
and they're not falling off 1 or 2 seconds a lap. But kids they can fluctuate 1 to 4 or 5 seconds a lap just depending on a mistake. And a lot of those mistakes are made because of bad habits.
Yeah. I better say thank you to my man Craig Han as well, the Welsh lad that you were talking to that told me that he'd been talking to you online. So I was like, yes, I need to get hold of Casey Johnson. I said, so yeah, thanks to Craig for telling me that he was speaking to you. Much
Yeah,
appreciated.
thank you, Craig. This all happened, very recently. I think he sent me a message. Sorry, my earphone keeps falling out. I don't know why it's doing that, but
That's right. No worries.
so yeah, he recently texted me on Friday, and we just kind of started chatting a little bit. And next thing you know, he's like, "Well, you should be a little shout out to Swansea MX." So I was like, "Yeah,
That's
sure."
it. Yeah.
I'll send you a little clip. And then after
Yep.
that, he said, "Would you be interested in a podcast from my buddy Lee?" I said, "Sure, why not? Hopefully I don't royally screw this whole thing up, but I look like an idiot." But yeah,
Yeah,
here I
mate.
am, and hopefully we have a good time.
Yeah, 100%. Much appreciated to Craig anyway. He's a top guy. If you can understand the Welsh language, then you're better than me. Oh, classic. Right, so let's get into it. So how did you first get into the bikes, Casey? How old were you? What was sort of your first bike and your first sort of memory of that side of things?
So I started off trail riding when I was probably about 5 or 6 years old.
Okay.
Me and my family just did a bunch of trail riding. We'd go camping in the hills, and I just did trail riding. My brother is older than me. He's 3 years older than me. He started racing. I was playing soccer and stuff, so I didn't actually start racing until I was about 9 years old. And I was
Okay.
on a KX65, and I was horrible. I got lapped by everybody. Got lapped by all the girls that were in the class
No
because they
way.
put the girls and the women in with the
Yeah.
60s. And I
Yeah.
got lapped by everybody, and I like twice. I was
No way.
really really bad. I came off the track going, man, maybe this sport isn't for me.
Yeah, 100%.
So and from there, I started kind of racing, and my mom just kind of said, "Hey, you got to pick a sport. You can't do baseball, soccer, and motocross. You got to pick one." So I said, "Well, motocross." And she regrets it to this day, but she wished I would have stayed with baseball or something like that.
Yeah.
But once motocross was in my blood, it, as you know, Lee,
Yeah.
once it's in your blood, it ain't ever leaving. I don't, it's
No,
like
100%.
unlike any other sport.
Yes, for sure, mate, for sure. I've got Leon. He's a massive. He's just come on. Look, he's put. He's in. He's a massive motocross memorabilia collector. He's got loads of cool stuff. I bet he's got some of yours as well. Simon Patterson here has just put, "Yo, dude, I'm a big fan. What was your favorite bike to ride?"
I love these questions. Always getting put on the spot.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I don't offend some of these teams I rode for.
No, you can say what you like. No, you can say what you like.
You know what? I have some really good memories of being on pro circuit, just because that kind of groomed me into the person I became to be. I would have to say my favorite bike was my Yamaha Troy 1999 YZ125. That bike
Interesting.
was so Kevin rode for Factory Yamaha the year before, and he was racing, the West Coast. And when I got on that YZ125, for the first time, I understood why that guy could jump all the triples, and some of us guys on the PC bikes,
Yeah.
we would struggle. We were struggling. We'd shift from second to third on the face of the jumps, and pulling up with everything we got, and trying to get over them. And Kevin would come around corners, just super smooth and just flowing, and get over the triples. And I'd watch him. When we after practice we go watch film, and I'd be like, "How's he doing that so easily?" But the bikes were different in different aspects. The pro
Yeah.
circuit bike had longer first gear trannies, so that
Okay.
way we didn't have to shift the second so fast.
Yeah.
But still, coming out of a corner from second, shifting to third, sometimes you just didn't feel like you had the momentum to get the triple. And back then it was all about corner speed. And
Yeah.
if you didn't have corner speed, you weren't making the triples. And so there were some supercrosses that like maybe Kevin and Renard were the only ones doing, Pichon.
Mhm.
And it seemed like for me, if I just didn't get the perfect smooth run, I backed it down. I wasn't going to try and case any triples that night. Live to ride another night, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But that YZ 125 was phenomenal. I gotta say, I could start in second gear on that bike. I could jump triples in second gear. And
Wow.
I was just blown away at how phenomenal the bike was.
That's really interesting as well, because I think most of the fans, especially over in the UK, would probably say that you just said pro circuit. So that's really interesting. I think I've got a. Is that the bike we're talking about?
That's the bike right there. There she is.
Mm. Mm. She's a beauty.
She is beautiful. I wish I would have been able to win the championship that year and hung that bike in my house. That was my plan, but it just never happened.
What sort of age were you then, Casey, when it's sort of when you thought to yourself, I could do this as a career, as a pro? Was there a sort of an age you thought, yeah, this is me, this is what I can do?
You know, when you start winning Loretta Lynn's as an amateur and you
Yep.
start getting some
American, yeah.
titles, you
Yep.
start to believe that this is the direction you're headed, right? Like
Mhm.
you're on the right track if you're winning Loretta's. I didn't really understand back then how important winning Loretta Lynn's was. But once I started winning Loretta's, and it was in the 125 class, I realized, hey, you know, I have a pretty good chance of going pro and making this a living. Um, and it wasn't until I had met with Mitch Payton in '94 at Loretta Lynn's, and me and my mom sat down with him, and he offered me the pro circuit ride for 1995, which I
Mhm.
was to be doing selected um, races, supercross and outdoors, but yet still staying an amateur and riding the amateur nationals, which is pretty crazy to think about because nothing like that is they even do that kind of stuff anymore, right? You're either racing Loretta's or you're racing pro. You're not
Mhm.
going to ride in pro nationals and doing supercrosses and then going dropping down and going ride to amateur nationals as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So it was kind of a special ride, just kind of get my foot in the door to being a professional level and getting my feet wet in the Supercross and outdoor series. So, um, so that was kind of special. And that's when I really kind of realized, hey, uh, I I think I kind of made it now. I got on a team that's a pretty prestigious team, one of the best, and now I just got to work my butt off and prove that I belong here. And it took some years, but some went through some injuries, um, but yeah, I finally ended up kind of coming to the point where I realized I could do this for a living.
Mm. Very obviously a super cool team. Everyone loves the pro circuit, split fire Kawasaki team, etc. So that must have been pretty special when you got on that team. They had a good history, obviously.
Well, they produced champions, Lee.
Exactly.
So one of the things was Mitch is going to take a guy who works hard over someone who just has talent. And when I got on that team, I wasn't really training. And when you grew up in the '90s, no one would took you under their wing to tell you, hey, this is what you got to do. Get in the gym and start working out and do your motos. I kind of went off a lot of talent, but I was still like kind of running quite a bit. I was running like, 4 or 5 miles, 3 days a week, but I wasn't doing like long motos and things of that nature. And so uh, he basically, Mitch turned me into a guy that got me a program going.
Yeah.
He took me to this doctor called Dr. Felsetti. He did like my, VO2 max test.
Yeah.
And he kind of got me to understand that, hey, you need to start working harder. In fact, he pulled me into his office. I think it was in 1996.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing very good in the outdoor series in 1996. And he pulled me into his office and says, "Look, you're fat and out of shape, and you need to stay home until you can get through the whole 2 motos."
Yeah,
And that
yeah. It's harder. Isn't it?
and that's when it hit me, like, I'm not doing enough, you know?
Yeah.
So that's when I really started to go, okay, I need to really get a training program going and start working a lot harder, because now my talent is running out and now hard work has to come into play.
Yeah, yeah. Because obviously, like you said, it's a big thing. Because you've got obviously the long motos and obviously outdoor, especially in America. You've obviously had a lot of humidity and a lot of rounds and things like that. It must have been heavy going at times for sure.
Yeah, you're experiencing different weather conditions all the time, right? As you know, you live in the UK, so you're right in the rain quite a bit, right? The mud.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
hated the mud.
yeah,
I didn't think I was a very good mud rider either, even though I kind of grew up in Northern California and
yeah,
there was times you had to race in it,
yeah.
but I hated it. And so to me, oh yeah, there you go right there. There's a good one. But I would much rather ride when it was hot and humid, because I was living in 1997
Mhm.
for the outdoor series. I moved to Ohio. And so
Okay.
I was living in Ohio with Brock Sellards, and we trained every single day. We were running 5 miles in the morning. We did about 20 miles on the mountain bike, and then we did 240s, and we did it every single day.
Wow.
So we were in the humidity at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the heat, and that's when I started doing my program. And me
Yeah,
and him would push each other on everything that we did, right?
yeah.
So that's
That's good.
was the key, is to have someone
Mhm.
that you can be competitive with on every aspect, and it's
Yeah,
going to push you, and he's going to motivate you and drive you, as well as you're doing that with him. So I love the heat and humidity, because that's when a person really will shine.
mhm.
The second motos, people start dropping off. That's when you know that people have been put in the work.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. They've just had the first round of the British Championship last week, and it was in very heavy sand. It was almost like a Belgium track. It's like a new track. It's almost like a big Belgium track, with the very deep sand. It was very soft, and I said to a couple of the people I know that it's going to be you'll know who's done the training over the winter when they are racing at the end of them motos. That's for sure.
The sand's
As you know.
brutal. That it takes more out of you than just doing a track that is rutted up. You know, the bike's moving around in every corner, every straightaway. So you're using up a lot more energy. Uh, so sand is definitely brutal.
Mm.
I love the sand though.
You love the sand, did you?
Yeah,
It's a nice early one.
that's a picture actually my mom took. We found out it's Tyson Volan,
Oh, was
and
it? I thought it was you.
I believe that's 85 or 86.
Oh, I
Had a
can't
lot of
believe
comments on that picture. I found that digging through some old pictures in a box, and I just thought it was so cool, because this track E Street right here,
it. Yeah.
I actually help them every once in a while prep the track. It doesn't look anything like this nowadays. It's completely changed, but the terrain and the sand
Mm,
that's what I grew up on, and
yeah.
this was one of my favorite tracks, because the rollers would get so big sometimes that me on my 65, I would just disappear.
Yeah.
And but yeah, that's an amazing picture. I'm so pumped I found that one. And yeah, it's still today, that track is amazing to ride. I love that track.
Yeah.
And a lot of um, great memories of that place.
Because obviously, as you know, we've been having a bit of banter about that. I've been chasing photos all over the internet.
Yeah, you're a magician, man. I don't know how you find all this stuff. There's
Plenty of
pictures I haven't
digging.
seen ever.
Yeah, I've been digging proper. So I'm glad I got you the photos that you probably didn't know you had anyway.
You sent me all these photos, and I'm so pumped, man. Thank you.
No
I'm
problem,
looking at
pleasure.
pictures for the first time I've never even seen, like I said,
Oh,
and I'm
that's
like,
cool.
this guy's like the private investigator of finding your history and your background.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
super awesome, dude. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Oh, good. As long as you don't think it's creepy, it's all good.
It's not creepy at all, man. In fact, I showed a
Okay.
few people,
Mm,
and I was like, I look how cool this picture is. I have never even seen this
yeah.
picture. I didn't even know it was out there. So yeah, kudos to you to finding this stuff, man.
Yeah, no worries, mate. I love doing that. Yeah, it's a thing. So what riders did you have any riders when you were young that you looked up to? Any of the pros that you were like your idols or anything? You ever get to race any against those guys or anything like that? Who was your heroes, or did you not have any? Or...
So when I was a little kid, probably on 85 still,
Mhm.
my hero was Damon Bradshaw,
Yeah.
right? The guy was amazing. I went out and
Yes.
bought cowboy boots. Remember, I live in Northern California.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm showing up to the track with cowboy boots on because Damon Bradshaw wore cowboy boots. So I'm like, you know what? If Bradshaw's wearing cowboy boots, I'm wearing cowboy boots too. So, and it's not even my style really, but like I just wanted to be like him. And
Yeah.
and so throughout the years, I was able to do a Yamaha photo shoot on an 85 at Washougal, Washington.
Yeah.
And he was there doing the 125 or 250 photo shoot. And I just thought, oh my gosh, like my idol is here, right? Uh, just awesome time. We a cool little memory I have is we were done
Yeah.
doing the photo shoots and stuff, and he's in his rent a car, and he
Okay.
goes, "Hop in." So I'm like, "All right." So I hop in. I'm like 14
Yeah.
or 15. I hop into the rent a car. I'm in the passenger side. He hops on the track,
No
and
way.
he does this jump backwards. Right, the track went a certain way, but he went backwards in the rent a car, and we're catching air in the rent a car. And I'm just in the passenger side holding onto
Jesus.
the oh crap handle, right? And I'm like, yeah, yeah, this is awesome. And I'm hanging out with my idol, you know. Well,
Yeah, that's so
but
cool.
a few years go by, I ended up racing him in Canada at the I believe it's the Ontario Supercross in
Oh yeah, yeah.
2001,
Okay.
and I ended up beating him.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there on the podium with him. And I said, I don't know if you remember me, man, but I was this little kid, this little small kid at Washougal with you. And he's like, I remember you. I remember you.
No
That was the
way.
highlight of my life right there, beating Damon
Oh, I bet.
Bradshaw.
I bet. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Brilliant.
So, but a lot of good guys, you know. I looked at the RJ.
Yeah.
You know, a funny little story is I tell people that he was my uncle, you know, because we had the same last names. And people were like,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, do you know Ricky Johnson? And I go, yeah, he's my uncle, man. And he's like, they're like, no way. I'm like, yeah. Yeah, he's like, that's so cool. I'm like, no, he's just a normal guy, you know. And then sometimes I would tell people I'm joking around, and sometimes they would just walk away scratching their head, going, "Man, that's RJ's uncle. That's pretty cool." So I don't know if he even knows that or not, but that's kind of a little funny story, though. And
That was cool because I did an interview with him, which was obviously amazing, and I got to meet him. I remember I told you about this in the UK, the Fox Hill Vets meeting. I was telling you about, and he was there last year in the end of August, so I got to meet him as well, and he was like Lee and all that. I'm like, oh my god, like Ricky Johnson saying my name. It's like meant absolute madness. Yeah,
right, someone like
it was
him
awesome.
recognizing who you are, that's
Oh,
pretty cool. RJ is a
yeah,
super nice guy, down to earth.
yeah, he's very cool. Yeah, he's very cool. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, very good. Um, who were the best teammates you had, and the worst?
Wow, you got some really cool questions.
Mm, thank you.
Well, let's see here. When I was in Canada, I had a teammate, Mike Treadwell, and Pedro Gonzalez was also on that team.
Mhm.
But me and Mike Treadwell, we really had some fun times in Canada. We were there on a team that wasn't so good, and we just made the best of it. We hung out a lot. We got to know each other pretty good. But we had some really fun times. Um, I'd say having Ricky as a teammate was really special. We got to know each other pretty good. We had our times where we disagreed a lot and had some arguments. And I can remember some times right before this picture was taken, actually at Millville,
Mhm.
we kind of got into it a little bit inside the semi,
Did you?
and I kind of wanted to take him out back and and rough him up. because he's just really cocky kid, right? And
Yeah.
rightly so, because
Yeah.
he was winning, and
Mm.
so he was real cocky. And we'd be in the semi, and he'd say some stuff, and he's like, "You feeling froggy, bro? You feeling froggy?" And I'm like, "Ricky, we don't want to go outside right now, okay? We don't want to do that because you're gonna get hurt." And so, and then we go out and do this start right after that, and so I don't know. Worst teammate, I can't really say that I had any teammates that we didn't like each other.
That's good.
All my teammates, Yamaha Troy, uh, all super nice guys. We all got along. The first year I was on pro circuit,
Mm.
guys like Rhino,
Yep.
he didn't talk to me very much. I'm the new kid on the
Uh,
block, so I spent a lot of time talking to Mikel Pichon
oh yeah.
because he was on
What
the
was he
team,
like? Yeah.
and he spoke very little English. But I spent the majority of the time talking to a guy that hardly spoke any English, just because he was a nice guy. So, but no, all my teammates, they were all super nice. We all kind of got along. Um, so yeah, super special. We all kind of got along. We all clicked. None of us had any beef. We weren't cleaning each other out, anything like that. So
Yeah.
we all kind of got along pretty good.
Was there sort of guys that you come all the way through the youths and then into the pro that you always you generally people have always got some sort of rivals? Was there guys that you sort of come all the way through with and into the pros and there's certain rivals?
So my rival in my amateur career was always Kevin Windham.
Yep.
And when he turned to the professional level and got out of the amateur scene, I kind of knew that, okay, like no one can beat me in the amateur scene because he's out of there. And because we raced each other all the way through big bikes in the amateur scene, and he always beat me. And, if I got a whole shot on him or come through the pack or something, he'd always end up passing me. And it just lit a fire under me. So he was like my amateur rival. I would go over and talk to his dad at like
Yeah.
Loretta Lynn stuff. Like, how can I beat your kid? How do I? Where's his faults?
Yeah.
What can I do to be better? And but yeah, he was my rival, and even in Supercross when we started kind of racing, he was the guy, right? He was the guy winning, and in '99 when I got on Yamaha Troy, he wasn't in that class, and I kind of had a pretty good feeling that I could win now. Kevin was always the guy. I'm like, you'd be lining up next to him on the gate, just going, how am I supposed to beat him when I've never really beat him? You know. But so he was one of the guys that was always pushing me to try and beat him. So taking me to the next level. So yeah, he was the guy.
It's Craig's just come on. He's put, "Hey both, I finally got on here last minute. Technical issue. Good podcast, Casey. You're a natural buddy. So how's the track? Hope the rain's letting up out there."
What's up, Craig? Tracks are flooded, man. The guy from East Street, Jesse, he sent me a picture the other day, and the river has flooded onto the track.
No
And
way.
because I
Proper.
texted him and said, "Hey, are you guys having practice Wednesday?" And that would have been yesterday. And he sent me a picture, not having practice, bud. The river's flooded onto the track, and I can't remember the last time that river has flooded onto the
Wow.
track. So hopefully the rain has let up today, and it's supposed to let up for tomorrow. So hopefully this weekend, I've got a couple kids scheduled to train this coach this weekend out there. So hopefully with all the weather, it's supposed to be good, and hopefully the track will be good.
Fingers crossed then. We did give you a shout out earlier, Craig, if you missed it. So, but obviously this will be recording, and I'm sure you'll check it back. He's just put, Casey, did any of your pro circuit teammates have plastics with the chrome on, split fires like Pichon did, chrome fenders, etc.?
Yeah, I believe that was that 95 or 96 we did the chrome. I can't remember. But
trying to think of
all
it.
of our bikes were chromed out, and it was super cool to, at that point, Mitch had never done anything like that before.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, all of us riders had the chrome on our bikes. I didn't keep any at all. I never really kept anything though from my career. I kept all my helmets,
Yeah.
but I pretty much gave away everything. And now I think about it, keeping a chrome number plate or a side panel, that would have been kind of cool because I didn't think how special it was until people talk about it nowadays, how cool those bikes were looking back then.
Still got this?
There it is. I still got that one.
No way.
Yeah.
That's trick. That is trick.
Yeah, I kept so I got about 2 or 3 helmets a year.
Yeah.
On every team that I rode for. And so I would give my helmets away, but I was like, I always kept one. And then my mom, she started keeping like some jerseys and stuff. And then I just started giving away the jerseys and stuff like that. Like people ask for them, and like, what am I going to do with the jersey? So I would give them away. I was just kind of honored that people would ask for my jersey because, I remember as a little kid going up to guys like Todd the Hoop, and hey man, can I have your jersey or can I have your goggles? And when as a kid someone hands you that and you're walking away with a jersey or a pair of goggles, it feels so special. Like you feel like you just like got something that is some memorabilia that like, I can't believe this guy just gave me his jersey. So you hold on to it and you're just like, man, walking around the pits. Hey, I just got Todd the Hoop's jersey, and but stuff like that. I just remember that feeling that I had when someone would give me something. And so when someone would ask me for something, I definitely would be like, here you go, you can have it. And if I had more than a few people ask me for stuff, I'd have to say, I'm sorry, man, I already promised my jersey out to, this kid earlier. And so if I gave you one, I probably would run out and wouldn't even have any for the race. So, but I like to give stuff away just because I know how special that feeling was.
Oh, that's cool. I like that. That's beautiful. Talking about shirts.
Oh yeah, there they are.
There's a lot of collectors out there.
We're missing the 58 and the 104. I don't even know where those two would be at, but this is my buddy Josh Gagnon. He's from Massachusetts area, and he's a big collector of jerseys and pants, and he's got jerseys from pretty much every rider. Yeah. And I mean from every rider. So,
they love it.
Here's one that's, I don't know, something bad happened right there with the back of that thing.
Yeah, I see that.
Looked like a rear tire got in there or something and chewed it up. It could have been a bad crash, but that's a cool little Troy jersey right there.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool collectors out there, and as I said, Leon was on here earlier. He does it as well, and they've got a lot of cool stuff, unbelievable stuff. Someone's probably got your chrome fenders or your number plates somewhere as well.
Someone does. I'm sure.
Hopefully they'll come out.
Yeah, I'm sure someone will have something.
I showed you this, didn't I, as well? This is one of the guys that always builds bikes. Chuck Davies, his name is, and he done that as well. Look how cool that is.
Yeah, I saw that picture. How awesome is that? You should put number 58 on there, though. But I'm just kidding.
Yeah. You could change numbers.
That's super special when people, redo the bike and from that time period. It's super cool that they took the time and effort. I mean, even down to like powder coating the frame. They just did everything super cool. I mean, that looks exactly like our race bike right there.
Amazing, isn't it?
I wonder, super cool.
He was like, well, let him know, Lee, if he ever comes over and does the Vets, Fox Hill, or anything like that, he goes, this bike's ready.
It looks like it's ready to go for sure.
It's definitely ready. Yeah, it's definitely ready.
Has anybody ridden that bike at all?
I think he has. He rode it at Fox Hill last year as well.
Did anybody like a pro rider ever get on that thing and rip it around?
I don't know. That's a good point, actually. I'll ask him that.
You should. Yeah, it looks like Rhino could head over there and ride that thing.
It does, 22, yeah.
He just needs to break out his old PC gear.
Yeah.
Totally matched. So That's pretty
The
awesome.
Fox Hill guys, yeah, the Fox Hill guys. I think they've announced that so far. I think Mike Brown's coming back again. He comes back every year. I think Mike LaRocco's going over there, but I think he's just watching. But he'll be over there, so that'd be cool to meet him for sure.
Those
Mike
guys are
LaRocco.
legends, man.
Yeah.
They're Mike Brown kind of has never even stopped riding. You know, I retired in at the end of '05, and for a lot of years I didn't even ride. I was just coaching kids, and I didn't even ride. So the guys like them, Mike Brown, they kind of continue to stay in the moto scene and race and stuff. So I mean, when they go to those races back there, like at Fox Hill, like you said, he probably did very well, right?
Yeah,
He,
yeah,
'Cause
he's winning races. Yeah,
yeah, he hasn't really ever stopped.
no,
So I'm sure that dude still hauls butt. Like you said, Villapoto was there and Zach Osborne.
yeah.
I mean, those
That was the
guys
American team. Yeah,
those guys haul, dude.
yeah, they were.
They're fast.
Yeah, like Villapoto, I don't think he was taking it too seriously. He sort of went flat out for a good few laps and dropped back a tiny bit. But like Brown is as fit as he was back in the day. He's like he rode two groups. He rode like an Evo Honda 125. Like I don't know what year that was, 89, 90. That was flat out everywhere, and he was winning that race as well. It's like then he was on the 252 stroke Yamaha, same as Villapoto in the team race together. So yeah, he's even doubling up groups.
Yeah, insane. The guy's just super
Mad.
fit, man. Super
Yeah, it's
fit.
amazing. Yeah, it's very cool. Was there obviously you've had a few numbers, and I know a lot of it's to do with placings and all this sort of stuff when you're racing as a pro. But was there any favourite numbers that were ever your favourite race number?
Well, I wish I would have been number one. It never really happened. Pretty close to it, but
Yeah, injury, wasn't
16 was my lowest number that I ended up
Mm.
getting. And I don't know, it just like kind of looked pretty cool on the bike at that time. And but all my numbers were kind of special, right? Because every year from your points and how you do, you start getting a national number. So my first year was number 104, and then I was number 58, and then 32, so and then 20, and then 16. So I gradually every year I was dropping lower and lower number,
it?
which to me was I was just getting better and better and better. So, but the the number that would have meant the most to me would have been number one, and
Yeah.
it's just it's a bummer that didn't happen. And I got this nice little scar right here on my. Let's see if I can get that in the frame.
Oh
That's my
yeah.
little scar from breaking my arm right there and at Anaheim, and got landed on, and it kind of ruined the championship hopes after that.
Yeah, that was a bummer because that was a great season as well, wasn't it?
It was going really well, 2 firsts and 2 seconds, and
Can't get much better.
16-point lead. I basically just needed to be
Take it
smart,
over.
but there was a triple in practice there, and
Yep.
I was the only one that did it. And I went in and I told the guys, I ran a heavy flywheel on my 125, and I
Okay.
told the guys, hey, I need the bike to pick up a little bit faster. So we put a lighter flywheel on this night
Okay.
because I needed to get out of the corner better and see if I can get this triple.
Yep.
And so, not that it changed anything as far as for the other triple and for the track or anything, but I just needed to pick up a little faster. Well, I remember going up to Ross Maeda, this Enzo Chiava guy, and I said, hey, stiffen up the suspension a little bit. I could be casing some triples tonight. And so he stiffened it up. And in the heat race, there was a triple that all the riders were doing in the race and in practice.
Yep.
And that was actually the easier of the two triples. That's the one I cased. And I was in second gear. I missed third on the face of the jump, but it was too late to shift to third. I was already kind of committed in second. And I said, well, I got to go for it, So I came up short, and my buddy Rusty Holland at the time, we grew up together racing up here up north. He landed on me, but he had nowhere to go, and so that's kind of like what kind of ruined that for the rest of the year for me. But yeah, I just remember practice trying to set my bike up for this one triple that no one was doing, and I only did it a couple times in practice. And now I look back and go, man, I shouldn't have even been concerned about it. I shouldn't even been really like trying to change up my setup just for one triple that I might not even done in the main event because everybody was doubling it, you know? So I don't know, but at the time you're thinking, I want to do it every lap in the main event, right? So, but I don't know. It was one of those things. It was a bad judgment call on my part.
Was you just sort of probably thinking at the time, I'm going to sort of gain a second or two there if I can just do it, and that type of?
It was a huge benefit to jump it. You had all the guys were going inside. I think Jimmy Button was doing it from the inside on his 4-stroke in the main event. And even McGrath, I think on his 252 stroke, he was having a hard time jumping it from the inside, but I have to go outside to do it. So I had to hit the outside, hit it clean, get to third, and I'd barely make it. But I did it a couple times to where like I thought I could do it consistently in the main. But then again, I put more focus on thinking about that triple than I did about just forget about the triple and just attack the rest of the part of the track, right? And I think I focused way too much on that triple, thinking if I just get that thing every lap in the main event, I can win by like 10 to 15 seconds. But I could have maybe won not by doing it. But it is what it is, right? We can't change it now. But now that you spend a lot of time thinking about like woulda, shoulda, couldas, and that's one thing I probably should have had something in my mind saying, dude, forget about the triple. Just worry about the rest of the track. Just focus on charging and attacking the rest part of the track and not that triple.
Definitely. And you just mentioned him there as well. What was he was definitely a hero of mine growing up racing myself in the 90s and watching all the videos and all that was McGrath. What was he like? Nice guy? Did you get on well with him? I see I've got a picture of him.
MC was a super nice guy. So him and my brother raced together when we were kids. When McGrath was kind of coming up through the local and amateur scene. And then when Jeremy turned pro, obviously, he was very dominating. And then in 1999, when I got on Yamaha Troy, he'd be out at the Yamaha track. So we spent a lot of time together doing motos and stuff together. And I learned a lot from watching him. He was the type of guy that he wasn't going high in the bull corners. He would stay rather low, kind of like a Cooper Webb today.
Yeah.
But instead of coming in and squaring it, he would round the whole corner, but he'd be just a few feet lower every corner than being at the very top, where I was like riding the tops of the bull corners. And he just rode he went a little lower, about 2-3 feet lower than going to the very top of these bull corners. And so watching him, just understanding like, oh, I don't need to go to the very top in these corners. I can stay a little lower. And then his style of just staying low, right? Like when you'd watch him go off triples and he used his legs to absorb the bike to stay low. And so that was one of the things he was really good at is kind of soaking the jump up with his legs. And I remember watching him and going, I need to try that. So in 99, you could see some of the triples, like Anaheim won the main event. I could stay kind of low, a little bit lower than some of the people just by using my legs more to soak the bike up.
Yeah.
So, but it was really awesome to have someone like him just to do motos with during the week at the track, right? The off season, getting ready for the season, because I knew that if I could, so we would do a lot of stuff like in our motos. My whole goal was not to get lapped, right? When we do our practice motos, we do 20 lap motos. And I said, man, if I can just not get lapped by McGrath when we do our 20 lap motos, then I feel like I could be on point to win races when the races come around. And I started getting to the point where like he'd get close to lapping me. In the beginning, he would lap me. And then I started getting to the point where like, okay, he didn't lap me that moto. Maybe I'm getting better. And so that was me building confidence, knowing that if I was getting that much better in the off season, by the time that the season came around, hopefully I had have a good chance of being the top guy. So
Yeah.
it was amazing to have him out there at the Alma track, to watch him, to learn from him, and obviously just riding with him too. You know, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. I've got two of the guys here have said the same thing. Simon Patterson said, "What was your best memory?" And Tim Riggs has also said, "Evening all, what's your best memory?"
Best memory. Well, I've got two. I'll just say there's two best memories. It's hard to say which my best one is. My first one would be I won the first moto at Steel City in '98. All right, so in '98, when I was number 20, all year long, just battling with Ricky. Quite a few times, I'd get good starts, hole shots, and I'd be running up front, and I'd get passed, and I'd end up third or fourth in the race.
Yeah.
And even Binghamton, which was in '98, Binghamton, I hole shotted it. I led it for like almost the majority of the whole race. And I think, slowly but surely, here comes Robbie Renard. And Robbie Renard was amazingly fast. There'd be points of, during the Nationals that he would catch Ricky and pass Ricky.
Yeah, I remember.
And so Robbie was very special. So Binghamton, here he is. He's catching me, right? He's catching me. And I'm like, he's coming. And there's nothing I can do about it because I'm going as fast as I possibly can. Well, he ended up passing me and with like 3 laps to go. And I was so upset when they got off the track, man. I was just so upset. So the following weekend at Pennsylvania, I got like a second place start. I passed John Dowd and I just checked out. I went as fast as I could for as long as I could. And once again, about 20 minutes in, 25 minutes in, I see Robbie Renard in second. And he's catching me again. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not going to happen again. Well, about a half a lap to go, he passed me. And I remember coming down this downhill and he had the inside on me. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to let him go in front of me and then I'm going to square him up and I'm going to take him out. That was my plan. I'm going to take him out. And so he comes down the hill. He passes me. I square him up. And as I'm coming right in front of his bike, I just barely miss his front tire with my rear tire and slide into the rut. And I remember thinking to myself, well, that didn't happen how I wanted it to happen. So I better ride the wheels off this bike the rest of this half a lap. That last half lap, I don't think I've ever ridden a bike as fast as I ever could in my life right there. And I ended up winning that moto. Beautiful. And I had tried so hard to win motos all year long, and that finally came to happen. And I remember throwing my bike down on the ground. Just my mom met me as I crossed the finish line, and I was just so pumped because you worked so hard all of those years to win a moto or whatever it is your goal is, right?
Yeah.
And so I finally accomplished that. Second moto, I didn't do so good, and I ended up third overall that day. And then my next best memory, I have to say, is winning A1 in '99. I came from back of the pack, had a horrible heat race. I'm sitting there going to myself, like, you could do this. You could do this. Remember what you can do at the track. Remember, you're in the best shape of your life. It doesn't matter. You could catch these guys if you get a bad start, and you can win. Well, I did that, and I passed my teammate Lytle on the last. I mean, he was getting the white flag, and we went over the finish line on the white flag, and I made the pass on him. And once again, that last lap was probably the fastest I could probably go for a lap, just to try to seal the deal, So those two memories are the ones that stick out for me the most.
Do you find that more satisfying as well? Say, for instance, like you say, you didn't make the start and you come through the whole pack to the front, or make the start and check out?
One thing a rider I think always wants to do is get a whole shot and check out, right? That's kind of what perfect race would be like.
Yeah.
Getting a bad start and coming through the pack and passing the best riders that night and still winning, it does something to you mentally. It makes you think that, like, now it doesn't matter what place I get off the start. I know I can win. And it's not always the best situation. But for me, I just knew that if I can be top 5 on the start and I could I could still win. So I wasn't putting a lot of pressure on myself. Like, you got to get the whole shot. You got to get the whole shot. If you want to win, you got to get the whole shot. To me, I'd go to the line going, if I can get a good start, I can probably win this race.
Yeah.
So
Gives you a lot of confidence as well.
yeah, the confidence that you get when you win a race is nothing like you ever experienced before. Like all the local races you win and the amateur nationals you win, they're special. But when you win the main event at that level, you're on a cloud 9 high, like all throughout the week. You're practicing throughout the week, and you're still feeling that high of winning. And it's like any other feeling that you're ever going to experience, besides maybe a championship.
And A1 as well is pretty cool as well. It's a good one to do. Did you have any favorite supercrosses? Was there any of the arenas or any of the supercrosses that were any of your favorite ones on the supercross side of things?
Well, I'd have to say that Anaheim was always special, right? It's
definitely opening.
It's A1. So there's all these nerves and the jitters going into the race. You don't know where you're going to stack up, which is why so many people now, they're all fit. They're all in very good condition. But the jitters and the nerves gets to some of these guys, and they don't even perform like they could perform because they let the nerves get to them. So A1 is always one of those where if you could just relax and just take it in your head that it's just another race. This doesn't mean anything as far as like, you put a lot of pressure on yourself for A1. And as the season goes on, that pressure kind of subsides and you start going, okay, if you get a 5th at round 1, you go, okay, I got a 5th. And now let's try to get a 3rd, and you try to improve as the year goes on. So, but A1 was always one, it was so much pressure on yourself because you wanted to do good at the first round. And so that's I think what helped me was just getting a bad start. I wasn't thinking about, no nerves were inside me. I was just trying to let's work forward, So I never once got arm pump or anything like that. So I think a lot of guys get arm pump because they just put so much pressure on themselves and they ride tight. They're not breathing and they're not flowing. So, so that was a cool track. One track that I didn't really ever get to do that well because I ended up getting a flat tire was Daytona.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have gone back to that race and try to do well there. But in 01, I rode for a team, and I think it was like the second lap, I got a rear flat. And I rode the whole race with a rear flat. Like I didn't pull off. I think I got lapped like 3 times by Ricky, but I remember being in like 9th or 10th, and I got a flat tire, and I pulled in to the pits, and they're like, keep going. And so I rode the whole race with a flat tire, and I never got to go back to Daytona, but that track is really special in regards to just the era and the generation, how long it's been going on, the winners of that race, how gnarly that race is.
I was gonna say that, yeah.
So that would have been one that I wish I would have done better at, for sure.
That must have been pretty sketchy then with a puncher going around there, because that was, like you said, gnarly is the word.
It was super sketcy.
Sketchy.
I had to roll a lot of the jumps, and to be honest, now I look back and go, I should have just pulled off. I don't even know why. I don't know why my team wanted me to stay out there and ride when I was just riding around. Like, it was pointless, and I wasn't going to get a lot of points by just staying out there. And it's not like I was trying to stay in a championship hunt or something. I think I was probably about 12th in points at that point anyway. So yeah, it was kind of sketchy just being out there. And then, seeing Ricky lap me so many times is just like, every time he went by, it's just like, oh my goodness, why am I even out here? So yeah.
What about outdoor track wise?
Glen Helen and Hangtown. Hangtown was one of my favorites because I grew up riding there when I was on 60s and 80s, and so every time I would go to Hangtown when I turned pro, it was something special. Like the energy and the vibe of that place, I could feel it when I was on the track for even practice days. You know, back then it was we practiced on Friday, amateur day was Saturday, and then the race was Sunday. And I remember just going straight onto the track on Friday. Um, and I just remember just feeling this energy that I haven't felt from any other tracks because it was my hometown track. You know, I grew up watching Steve Lamson and Talon Bolin there, and now here I am, you know, racing those guys on the gate with them at my hometown track. So Hangtown was always super special to me. I loved Glen Helen just because of the hills too. There, I loved the hills, and I always seemed to do pretty decent at Glen Helen. One of the East Coast tracks, Budds Creek. I think you have a picture of me hole shotting there. It was like a right-hander, a left-hander drop down a hill, and I think I'm out front. Ricky's in second, and I always loved Budds Creek. Once again, the elevation, the hills, and just the terrain and the dirt. The dirt was awesome at Budds Creek. Very, very good. Like rutted up dirt. And so, yeah, I think that's that's Budds Creek right there. I think 97. Yeah. So Budds Creek was awesome. And then Southwick was one of my favorites because I love the sand.
Sandy, yeah.
Yep. So I always look forward to those tracks when I was on the circuit. If I wasn't in good shape, then I didn't like Southwick.
No, definitely not. Even like I remember that big straight, wasn't it, across the finish line all the way along, and Dowd and all them guys loved it, didn't they?
It's like a fifth gear wide open, you know, and that was fast on 125. I couldn't imagine doing that on a 450 there.
Yes.
You got to be cooking through there on a 450, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. All right, just going to look at a couple of comments that a couple of the guys made. Obviously, I will ask this one. We said about what was your favourite bike. He's actually just put Dave Thomas here. Hi, Dave. He just put, what was the best team that Casey felt that he rode for? And geez, he looks like he's still 17. So nice comment there.
Well, thanks,
Still
Dave.
saying you look young, man.
Thank you. Appreciate that. It's good genetics, I guess. Best team. Wow. Well, it's hard. It's hard to say that. Every team is so special to me. I have, you know, Mitch Payton taught me a lot. So I'd have to say Pro Circuit was probably the best team I rode for. Not having anything, you know, besides Yamaha Troy. All those teams were so amazing. But Pro Circuit just taught me a lot about being a test rider. I didn't know anything about testing. You know, when we were coming through the ranks as amateurs, it was like you just run what you had, right? And you were never trying to like, you know, Steve Lamson's dad did my motors. John Lamson did my motors when I was on little bikes and 125s, and my bikes were screamers. But I didn't have, you know, multiple cylinders, multiple pipes and silencers, multiple ignitions to test. So when I got to Pro Circuit, you know, with Bones, we were testing suspension. We'd spend from in the morning till it was getting dark at Glen Helen testing suspension all day. And it would be like, it'd be dark out and Bones would come over and go, hey, just one more setting. And I was like, Bones, I can't see. He's like, don't wear your goggles. Just go out there and ride a couple laps and come in. And I'd be out there at the end of the day. Sun's going down. It's already dark outside. No goggles on, just trying to test this last suspension setting. So Pro Circuit made me a great test rider. And it turned me into the rider, I think, who I became, because without them, and I probably wouldn't have got any better. I probably would have just plateaued, but just testing. It makes you super sensitive to your bike. You start to understand what you like, what you don't like. You start to feel things that like changes that you might need to make between the first moto and the second moto. You get really meticulous about stuff sometimes because you know that this could be, since you rode the first moto, oh, it could be better for the second moto. So let's try this. And so you learn to like try things in between motos because you spend so much time testing that stuff and figuring out, okay, this is the right direction that we need to go. You know, Bones would do stuff to me like he's like, okay, you know, go try this. And I'd go do 2 laps and I'd come in. I'm like, hey, Bones, I don't really feel a difference. And he'd be like, okay, good, because I didn't do anything. And
Yeah.
and I'd be like, you serious? He's like, yeah, I just wanted to see if you know what you're talking about. And but little things like that where you get so good at noticing something, that a change that didn't even get made. You get so good at fine tuning your dirt bike where you know exactly like, yes, this is better, this is worse.
Yeah,
So,
details.
yeah, so I'd say Pro Circuit really helped out a lot. It was an awesome team. I'm super glad that Mitch took a gamble on me because I was just a punk kid from Northern California, you know.
Amazing. This is a good one because I had this written down as well. Did Casey Anthony Mitchell? He just put. Did Casey get any offers to race in the UK or Europe in the GPs? Is what I was going to ask. So yeah, same thing, Anthony. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that question. I did race in Europe. I rode the German, the ADAC Supercross series. I raced it in 2002, 2003, and 2004, and I won the first 2 years of the championship there. I didn't really get any offers to go race like the GPs or anything. I was mostly always contracted to do the outdoor series and Supercross here, so I didn't actually go over and race in Germany till like almost the end of my career. I got hurt a few times, so I wasn't really getting any offers to go and race for the U.S. race here in the U.S. So I said, well, if I'm not really getting any offers, then I might as well try to go race in Europe. And that one of the things was to go ride that German Supercross series over there.
Did you get to do the Paris Supercross at all?
Never. I never got. So in '99, I think for Yamaha Troy, nobody was really going over there and doing those races on 125 back then.
Yeah, so it got less and less. Yeah,
you had to be like a 250 guy to be invited to that stuff. Now they invite all sorts of people. You could be in the lights class or the main class. But no, I never got the offer to go race Bercy. I don't know if I would have anyway, because I was so focused on training and getting ready for the season that I thought, hey, if I go over there, there's a chance I could get hurt. There's a chance of a lot of things, you know. So I don't want to take that risk. I'd rather just stay and train and stay on my regiment. And because if you fly over there, it takes about a week out of your schedule, and bad things can happen too. You know, you might get landed on, but obviously I got landed on, but something can happen to you over there that's out of your control, and then you're going to regret even wanting to go there. And you should have just stayed home and just stayed to your program. But never got offered to go over there. But yeah, Germany is the only place I actually went to when it comes to doing races in Europe.
Cool. Did you have any? You've wore a lot of cool race gear over the years. Did you have any favorite race gear that you wore in your career? You had a lot of cool gears, obviously.
Well, I'd have to say, in 2000, Yamaha Troy rode for Fox. We went from Sinisalo in '99 to Fox in 2000. And the Fox gear that they made for us, it was pretty special. I think you had one of those jerseys up. It had vented stuff for outdoors.
Yeah.
And it just, Fox gear was just everything about it, the fit, the colors. It just was, if you're riding for Fox, it's kind of like the number one gear company that you'd want to ride for, right?
Yeah, it's very cool.
Fox gear, you just feel cool, you look cool.
Yeah.
I went through a couple brands. I rode for Shift in '01. I think I rode for Axo. It was Axo we rode on for Pro Circuit there.
Yeah.
Axo had some really cool gear. That was pretty cool stuff there, the vented stuff. But yeah, the Shift gear was pretty cool. But I'd say riding for that Fox stuff right there, man. that stuff just looked cool. Look, like with the bike and everything, it just matched. And I don't know, like I always just felt like I could go faster in Fox gear.
Yeah, there's a nice one as well. Yeah, who didn't like Fox gear? I think everyone likes Fox gear. Point blank.
Yeah, even
Everyone.
today, the Fox stuff is just, I mean, all these gear companies are super cool, right? But Fox gear just seems like they're just the cream of the crop when it comes to the gear company. Not saying anything bad about all the other companies. I'd ride for, I got some Fox gear right now that's like from 2000. I think it's from 2016, and I still run that stuff. I don't get free gear anymore, so I would just wear stuff that I have from like a while back. But I got a 22 Honda 450 now, so when I do ride, I break out that old gear that I had from when I used to ride. So yeah, so I got some Fox stuff now, and I did a I did a bike test with David Pingree one day, and he hooked me up with some Alpine Star gear for the bike test. But other than that, unless I'm doing some bike test or something, I don't get free gear anymore. I don't get free goggles, so I'm just kind of like run some older stuff. But yeah, I like the Fox stuff.
I don't know if it's possible, Casey. I don't know if you've got a light that you can put on or something. I can't see you too well. I don't know if you have got one, have you? Or is it
Turn
already
this.
on? Oh, yeah, that's better. Yeah, it's perfect. Thank you.
No
Appreciate
problem.
that.
Yeah, I was looking
Did you have
in
it?
the dark.
Yeah, I can see you totally now. It's just like shadowed. Do you have any? Did you have any weird and wonderful superstitions or anything like that, or any specific things you had to do on the day or anything during your career?
Nope, I wasn't a superstitious person at all. Like lots of guys will drag their helmet on the ground, but
Oh,
I, I'm like, man, that's basically you're just ruining your helmet, dude. Stop doing that.
couldn't do that. I wouldn't do
I
that.
always wanted to keep a nice helmet, but no, I never had any superstitions. It wasn't like this gear goes on this leg first. Um, no, I wasn't a very superstitious person. So
As we know, obviously the injuries are part and parcel of the sport. We've sort of mentioned the arm earlier. Was there sort of any other injuries that you had during your career that obviously you feel held you back? Obviously that one, in hindsight, obviously was probably a championship winning season potentially, which was obviously a bummer. Was there any other sort of awkward injuries that you had that sort of stopped you from doing better than you could have done at the time?
yeah, there was like in 2000, I think Anaheim won. I came from really far back and I got second. And then the middle of the week, doing some training, I always did motos with Ernesto Fonseca, and so we were doing a 20 lap moto, and he was in front of me, and every time we came into the whoops, I'd pull up alongside of him, and so and then there was a double right after the whoops, so you'd have to come through the whoops, and then as you start getting towards the end, you'd have to like start chopping the throttle just a little bit so you didn't hit the double and go over the bars, and so this one particular day we were doing motos and I was coming in the whoops and I remember just shutting off just a tiny bit when my front end just dropped. And I went over the bars and I broke my left radial head and my elbow here. And that once again put me out of the championship 2 years in a row. And I was just like, man, just another missed opportunity to do really well. So that one was another one that kind of set me back because anytime you get hurt like that and need surgery, you're out for 3 months. And then you're getting ready for the outdoors. And usually you have about a month to get ready, right? Maybe a month on the bike. And I remember getting on the bike, I think 3 weeks before Glen Helen, and I couldn't even hold on. And there's no way I'm going to be able to race. Well, I think I went out and got second the first moto. And, but I was just, you're always trying to climb the ladder again, right? You climb the ladder, you get fit, you get strong, boom, you get knocked down. And you try to keep your fitness up, but then when you come back, injuries really take a toll on you and they take a toll on your speed. And then all year long, you're trying to like get strong and fit again, but guys are beating you that you used to beat. So now your confidence starts going down. And now you start placing yourself instead of a third place guy, you're like a ninth or 10th place guy. And so it slowly takes a toll on you, and you're not the person that you were before.
Mm,
It's hard to actually really get
yeah.
back to the person you used to be, confidence wise, fitness wise. It just takes a lot out of you.
Get
So
what
I
you're
say
saying.
that the elbow, breaking the elbow, was another one that took me down. Um, I've had lots of injuries though, between breaking femurs, uh, breaking both ankles, collarbones, wrists. In 2003, when I was riding for Suzuki, I think you have a picture of me, number 59. Um,
Yes.
I was doing really well in that race. I think I was leading, and then I got passed, and I was running second. And I went over the bars there at Glen Helen. I hit one of their nice little kickers that they got. And I went over the bars. I broke my back. I separated my shoulder. I punctured my lung, and I broke 2 ribs.
Jesus.
And so that was my comeback too. Like I was feeling really, really strong this year. And the Coster, I remember he called me. A couple guys had gotten hurt that year, like Danny Smith and Brandon Jessamine. I think they got hurt and they were trying to look for a fill-in guy. So DeCoster called me and I went out and tried out for the job. I tested all day with them, and then I did a 40-minute moto at the end of the day. And DeCoster was like, "You got the job, dude." And so I was pretty stoked. So I was feeling like, hey, this could be me coming back. So
Yeah.
and then first moto, I went down and I did all that damage to myself. And I actually told myself in the hospital bed that I think I'm done racing. But I ended up coming back and riding a few more years and racing a few more years. But like I said, when you get hurt that many times, it starts taking its toll on you,
Mm.
and it's hard to become the rider that you used to be.
What was that Suzuki like?
Awesome. It was amazing. That was I believe they were putting a KTM crank in those bikes. That it was like a longer shaft crank,
Yeah.
and those bikes were so fast. I remember riding it for the first time, just going, "Wow, this thing!" You don't really know how fast the Suzuki is. I never really rode one in my career, but when I
Mm.
got on it, I was really impressed with how good that bike was.
Mm. Was it good working with Roger DaCosta as well? Obviously, he's a legend. I got to interview him as well. It was cool.
Well, the time that I had with him was very short-lived. It
Yeah.
was super cool to just, for him to even call me.
Mm.
I was doing a lot of riding with Greg Albertine uh, up up to the point where he called me. So me and Albie were doing a lot of riding together, doing a lot of motos together, and I just had a stock Yamaha 250F that someone bought me, and so that was the bike I was doing motos on. I didn't even know if I was going to ride outdoor nationals until that point where I got a phone call. I was just kind of, told myself in my head, I said, all right, let's just get ready. Let's just be prepared. And so someone bought me a bike and I was just, getting ready for it. And so, but yeah, kind of being around Roger, he's very laid back person, right? It's not like he's like, go out there and win. He knows he knows what you want to do. He doesn't need to tell you. Um, and even when I got out of the hospital, he called me and said, hey, if you wanna come back and race the last few nationals, you got a spot on this team, which I thought was the most nicest thing that someone could say, because
Definitely.
he gave me a chance and I got hurt, and for him to call me and say that to me, it meant a lot to me.
Mm. Definitely.
I didn't actually go back and race for him because I thought I was going to quit.
Mm.
So that was actually the year I went to Germany. When I got healthy, I went back to Germany and raced in Germany.
Yeah, so that was nice that he said that and thought
Yeah.
about. Yeah, that was cool. What was the Kawasaki like then?
Well, that was so I grew up on Team Green my whole life, right? 80, 65, 85s, all through my amateur ranks. I was on Kawasaki.
Yeah.
Then I switched over to Yamaha Troy. And then in 2001, I went back to Cowie.
Mhm.
And one thing I noticed was I couldn't, with the geometry of the frame and everything of the Cowie, I couldn't even run the bars that I normally run, which were the 998s. twin walls, which I ran on Yamaha Troy. So the first thing I noticed when I got on that team was I had to change my handlebar setup. And
Okay.
so you could see that the bars are pretty low.
Yeah.
But it was the only way I could feel comfortable on that bike. And so we did a lot of testing. Mitch did the motors on that bike, so the motors were awesome. It was my first year to the 250 class, and so I
Yep.
thought in my head, I should be running definitely top 10 every race. And there was a lot of times where I was running, 8th, 9th, or 10th, battling with guys in the main that, like Ferry, and even a few times battling with Kevin. But I just, I never really got comfortable. In fact, that year, I showed up to the Kawasaki test track one day to ride, and I had a fear of getting hurt again because I had gotten hurt every year. So, so in 2001, I wasn't really myself on that bike. I rode with a lot of fear. I rode with, am I going to get hurt out there again? And every time I got on that bike, I was afraid I was going to crash and get hurt. And so I remember going to the Kawasaki test track one day, and I told everyone I left my knee braces at home. I forgot my knee braces, and I just went home. And because I was scared to ride.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with my head? So everything with that bike was good. It's just my head and me as a rider, I was riding scared. And it took a long time throughout the whole series, every single race, just like finishing the race, finishing the main event, and going, okay, let's just get better, but not really riding to my full potential, because every single time I got on that bike, I just was like, I was afraid I was going to get hurt every single time.
Not good, is it? Not good. When was the sort of last time that you sort of raced in some races then, Casey? When was the sort of last time you've been doing any racing of any sort?
Oh, man, it's 2005. That was a lot. When I retired, I haven't really raced any races, and so it's been a long time. I just ride for fun. There's no pressure when I go ride. Now I don't think about getting hurt or anything, because if I'm in a race, part of me is just, it's like I turned 21 again, right? Like I put the helmet on, I'm on the gate, and it's like I got to win, and I'm not 21, so that's one of the reasons why I don't race anymore, is because every time I get to the starting line, it's like I feel like I need to win, and I'm not happy if I don't win. I come in, I'm upset, and I say things under my helmet that I probably shouldn't say on this podcast. So so the last race I did was 2006, the Vet National. So that is actually the last race I did as competitive, and I won that day. So the first moto, I was out front, and I came into a corner, and there was a rock that fell into this rut, and my front end hit it. So I finished third the first moto, and I came in after the moto, and I was super upset, pissed off. And I said, you know what? I got to win the second moto. And I went out the second moto, and me and Rhino and Dubach put on a race. We passed each other, like, I want to say 6 or 7 times in the last few laps.
Wow.
And so I ended up winning that national. So that was the last one I did. I forgot about that.
You're only as good as your last ride.
Yeah, I went out on top.
Yeah, man.
My name's in the history books for Vet Nationals there.
That's beautiful. Is there any other sports you like watching or even doing, Casey, at all? Is there any sports that you like? Other ones you like?
Well, there's things I like to do. I like to go play golf, but I'm horrible at golf. Every time I step up to hit this ball, I have a feeling that it's going to go right towards the pin and go in, and it goes off 50 yards to the right of where it should have went. So I'll go play some golf with my cousin here and there. It's a fun game that I like to play. I'll watch it a little bit on TV, because guys like Rory McIlroy, he's the kind of the new guy since Tiger stepped out, but I'll watch him, and I'm just in disbelief at how good these guys are at golf. Sometimes I go, maybe I should have played golf, but no,
Make a lot of money. A lot of money.
Golf is super fun. I like to go snowboard. I don't really watch a lot of other sports though. I don't really follow a lot of other sports. Motocross was the one, I pretty much follow every weekend.
Who's the guys that when you're watching the Supercross or the Motocross, who's the guys that excite you watching them now?
Kenny.
Yep. Kickstart Kenny.
Kickstart Kenny. I got on my bike, on my Honda, I went up to his mechanic last year at Anaheim, and I asked him if I could have his takeoffs off his bike. So he gave me pretty much everything but the front number plate, because I guess people were selling number plates online for money. So he gave me the shrouds, the side panels, the rear fender, the front fender, and that's what's on my bike now. And so anytime the main event is getting ready to go, I'm like, let's go, Kenny. Come on, Kenny. I'm rooting for Kenny. I just think that he's a phenomenal rider. That what he's overcome with injuries and to where he is,
major,
it's huge. A lot of people don't understand what it's like to overcome injury and to be back up there to win a race. It's pretty phenomenal mentally that you can climb that ladder and get to the point where you believe in yourself enough to be at the front. And so for what he's did, just a ton of respect for him. And he's just so amazing to watch, right? He's a phenomenal rider, phenomenal.
Got to watch him for the first time last year when he came over to the UK to do the World Championship, the new World Championship. And him and Tomac were going at it. So that was amazing, indoors as well at Cardiff Stadium in England. That was brilliant. Yeah, very cool. Looks like they're going over further places in the world this year as well, so it looks like that's going to be good again. Did you prefer the Supercross or the Motocross? Did you have a preference? Or
great question. The Supercross is I look forward to Supercross when I was winning. I would say I liked outdoors better, because outdoors is really like where you show, your true potential, right? Like you got to get good starts and you got to ride like a freaking maniac and you got to take chances. I remember I'd come in from the race and, when you go up to the line for your second moto at a national, you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. I almost died the first moto just because you're hanging it out. And you know that the second moto is going to be exactly the same. You're going to have 5 close calls at least. Whether the people can see those from the side of the stands or the spectators, but in your head when you hit a kicker down a straightaway and that bike goes sideways on you, you almost died. And so you got to have a bit of a screw loose outdoors to go fast, and you have to be okay with falling. You got to accept it that like if I fall, I fall, but that you're going to have 5 good close calls outdoors every moto. That you're going to go, okay, this could be disastrous. Supercross was more mentally draining. Every obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. So one brain fart puts you on the ground, and that one brain fart could usually be an ambulance ride to the hospital. So in Supercross, things are happening. Your heart rate's 190 for 20 minutes or whatever, and it's like. I tell people about Supercross is like balance on a balance board, and you can't let you lose your balance. Take 2 tennis balls, throw them against the side of the wall. You got to catch the tennis balls for 20 minutes, and you got to balance. Just the mental side of that, it'd be so draining because you can't drop the ball. You got to do everything perfect. That's what Supercross is. Everything is so mentally draining because everything's happening so fast. And you hardly breathe because the only time you breathe is in the air. And so when you're in the air, you're taking this big, deep breath, just one, and you're trying to catch your breath. And so you're doing that as much as you can so you don't skyrocket your heart rate to like 200. And if you do that, then your arms are going to pump up and everything. So you're focusing on your breathing. You're focusing on your line choice. Do I have to switch my lineup? So Supercross and outdoors are so totally different with your heart rate zones and with your focus. uh, like I said, Supercross is. I'd be get done with the Supercross, and at the end of the night, and it's just like my brain is just fried because of all the stuff that just happened, you know. And so outdoors, you could leave the outdoor series more physically drained. You're more, you're tired, your muscles are sore from outdoors, but that's not how you feel in Supercross. Supercross, it's just, you're driving away from the stadium that night and your brain is just fried. You just want to go home and just shut down and recharge the batteries.
What's the best atmosphere you've raced in, motocross and Supercross? The best atmosphere, like, you know, where you were riding.
Wow. The thing about Supercross is when there's a good race going on, there's a battle, you can hear those guys, and it's the most unbelievable feeling when you know they're rooting for you, right? If they're rooting for another battle and you're on the track, you're like, oh, it must be a good race going on somewhere, and I'm not in it. And but outdoors, you have these diehard fans, right? Their shirts are off, they're waving their shirts, you know, like it's crazy. They're just so totally different atmospheres. You know, the guys in outdoors, all around the whole track, you hear that section of the track as you go by, and you hope that they're rooting for you, you know, not the guy behind you. Like if RC's behind you and you see some dude hanging over the fence, and you're like, is he doing that for me or is he doing that for Ricky? I don't know. Who knows? Maybe Renard's catching me. So the fans on both spectrums are just, it's so different, right? And like I said, Supercross, you hear the whole crowd, the whole stadium, and that sound under your helmet is it's so awesome to hear that. And like I said, you hope it's for you at the time.
Must be a buzz for sure. Craig's on it again. Casey, would you consider coming over to the UK? I've already been trying this with him, Craig, to the big events here, spectate, or even any fun laps, maybe even sign a Cowie plate sometime.
Craig, I would love to come over there and spend some laps on just riding with you guys, right? I would just love to come over and have some fun. I'd love to sign your Kawasaki plate for sure. Like I said, I would love to come over there and ride with you guys. As far as racing, I just don't want to get hurt again. And I know myself pretty well that I've taken a lot of time off the bike.
Yeah.
And if I go there and race, I'm going to expect myself to want to win. Like I can't go there and have fun and get 15th. I mean,
competitive edge is always there.
15th. You know, you come off the track and people are gonna be like, oh man, he really sucks now. You know, like it's definitely not how he used to be. But I've taken a lot of time off the bike, and so to come and race, it's like I gotta train. I gotta like go and do my motos and get my fitness up, because I'm not going to make an idiot of myself, right? I'm not going to be a jackass out there and getting tired on the lap 5 with arm pump. No, I want to be the guy that like is battling for the lead, putting on a show for the fans. They're leaving the track that day just talking about the race. Like, man, that was a cool race. Like, I want to be the guy that is making that race fun. And I know that I'm not going to be the guy making that race fun if I'm back in 15th, just my tongue in the sprocket, you know, just so tired that I'm like, what am I even doing out here? That's me mentally. That's the worst thought I could have when I'm on a bike is, what am I even doing out here? Like, I'm supposed to be having fun. There's no fun in 15th. There's only fun when you win.
Yeah, that's true. The competitive edge doesn't go, does it, Casey?
But I would love to come over there and ride with you guys. That's for sure.
Yeah, that would be cool. Who are your closest friends in general in the sport then, Casey? Was you close to any of the riders, or was there general ones that you were closer to than others?
Yeah, so a childhood friend of mine, Michael Brandis.
No, Michael.
You know Michael Brandis? You've heard of him?
Yeah, I remember him. Yeah. He rode Yamaha as well, didn't he?
Yeah, so he was on multiple teams too.
Yeah,
he was on FMF Honda. I think he won the Indy Supercross in 2000. We've known each other since we were 11 years old. He's from Northern California. I grew up racing him. He went to big bikes at like 13 or 14 because he was already too tall. So I stayed on mini bikes. And but I would race him at Hangtown. I'd be on my super mini, and they would let me race the 125 intermediate class on my super mini. Well, Brandis would be in the 125 intermediate class, and we'd have good battles and stuff like that. And then as soon as we both went pro, we both bought houses in Southern California. We were probably within a half a mile of each other. So every day we rode together, and we just hung out. We did everything together. And, you know, we probably did way too much partying together. Remember, this is the 90s.
Exactly,
so,
yeah.
You know, we did some drinking back in the day, and
Yeah.
maybe just quite a bit too much drinking. But no matter what we did as far as partying, the next day we got up and we worked our butts off. We went and we'd run our tanks completely dry of fuel at a track that, you know, we formed out in the hills somewhere. And so I would say Brandis is the guy that I hung out with pretty much all through my career. And he's my friend. And I was just telling the story the other day to somebody. We're at Redbud, and it was like 1997, I believe. And Brandis stayed in my hotel room. We rode to the track together. Well, we're in the second moto, and we come into this corner in Redbud, and he cleans me out, totally T-bones me. This is my best friend.
No way.
And I'm sitting there to myself, picking my bike up. I think we're like in 6th or 7th, and I'm just like, I just can't believe this just happened, right? So I get back to the truck. I'm telling Mitch, like, what? He's like, what happened back there? And I go, dude, Brandis T-boned me. Like, and he's like, isn't he here, buddy? And I was like, yeah, he's my buddy. So I'm sitting there and I'm just super bummed out, pissed off. And I'll go and get undressed, and I get out of my gear, and me and Mitch are talking. And here comes Brandis. He's walking up. Remember, we drove to the track together.
Yeah.
And he's like, what's up, man? You ready to go? And I was like, bro, I'm super pissed off right now. You totally cleaned me out. He's like, dude, forget about it. Let's go get some dinner. But that's just Brandis.
He's just chilled out about it.
It's just Michael. It didn't matter if it was your best friend or somebody else. If he took you out, it was just basically he took you out. It didn't matter if you're friends or not.
Yeah.
But he was not even bugged by it. It didn't affect him. He was like, he's ready to go get some dinner, you know, at Outback Steakhouse. And I just remember going, I can't believe I'm leaving. We're going to go. Yeah, let's go.
You wanted to choke him out.
I just wanted, I was so upset. And, but yeah, so Michael Brandis, he's probably one of the guys that I hung out with pretty much my whole career. I don't know. We just went every single day. We'd ride together, and then Brock Sellards, when I went to the East Coast, we would spend a lot of time together because I lived with him, and we go riding together every single day in the summertime. And I basically moved back to the East Coast in the summer just to be acclimated to the heat, the humidity. The time change is huge, like, right? So if you live in California and you fly to Michigan, you're getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go out to the track. But in California, it's like 4 or 5 in the morning, or even 3 hours difference sometimes. So your body's not used to the time change. So you're tired at the track where you should be having energy. You feel like taking a nap. So I spent a lot of time on the East Coast in the summer. So mostly it was with Brock Sellards. And there was a few other people that I hung out with, but it wasn't like on a regular basis.
I hope Michael paid for the dinner after that anyway.
Right? He should have. I shouldn't have to pay for anything, man.
No.
I think I already paid for the rent-a-car.
Did you have, is there any regrets in your career, as in like any decisions you made on the teams, bikes, all that sort of stuff, sponsorships, any regrets in any deals?
Yeah, I have to say there's probably a few regrets. In 2001, although I had a great time in Canada, but I got offered a factory KTM ride, and it was a few weeks before the Glen Helen opener. Okay. And I I turned it down, and I had already had an offer to go to Canada to race for this guy in Canada, and KTM called me and was like, "Hey, we want to give you an opportunity. So we want to sign you for a 2-year deal."
Okay.
And it was the man there was Sal at the time. I think he's still there. I'm not sure, but he was the guy that kind of was overseeing everything at KTM, and I ended up turning it down only because I had told the guy in Canada that I would come there, but I hadn't signed anything yet. It was just my word.
Yeah.
So but I gave him my word. And then after that, it was like the next day I got called by KTM, and I went down to KTM and I talked to him and everything. Cause he's like, just come down here. I went down there. They already had a jersey with my name and number on it printed up. And he's like, we want you. And I said, you know what? I got to go think about this. And I went back and I thought about it. And I said, I can't go back on my word to someone. I had already told this guy that that I'm going to be up there. So, I honestly wish, because Canada turned out to be a little bit of a disaster. I ended up going up there first round. I broke my collarbone. It just didn't go as planned. And so I wish I would have signed that KTM deal. Who knows what would have happened from there to, with the rest of my career. But now that I look back, yes, it was my word that I gave the guy, but I didn't have anything in concrete at that point. And so I kind of just wish that I would have been like, you know what, like it's KTM and they want a 2-year deal. So it doesn't even matter what you do this year. So I wish I kind of would have done the KTM thing. But in hindsight, what do? You try to make the best out of, what you're given for a situation. And for me, saying that I would go and race for this guy, I was like, you know what, I got to do it. And so, but it's kind of a bummer that I had that other option. And so that's kind of like one of the ones I wish maybe I can take back, but obviously I can't. So yeah, that's kind of the one that I kind of think maybe I should have had a different decision, but in the end, I upheld my word to the guy. So
fair play, yeah, fair play. Have you ever tried? I do the interviews with Speedway riders as well. Have you ever tried the old oval Speedway at all? Did you ever try it?
Never. I've always wanted to, because I feel like if you look at my foot in some of these pictures, I'm kind of got the whole Speedway foot drag thing, right?
Yeah.
In this one picture here, the first turn, you can see my foot's just got its own little roost. Yeah, and I don't know if that's how they do it in Speedway, but I got pretty good at just sliding the back end on a dirt bike. You can kind of practice it and just slide the back and then give it gas and break it loose and just kind of keep it there. Yeah. And I never got an opportunity to try it, but I think it would be super, super fun for sure.
Have you ever gone and watched any at all in America? Or?
Yeah, we have a track up in Auburn. So I'm in Northern California, and so I'm in Lincoln, California. So in Auburn, they used to have a Speedway, and I went and watched it when I was younger, and I thought it was super cool. But at that time, my whole focus was on racing dirt bikes and trying to be the best person I could on a dirt bike. But doing Speedway, it just, you have no brakes, right?
Yeah, no brakes.
And so that'd be like one of those things where you're coming in the corner, you're like, if I don't pitch this thing sideways, I'm going to go into the wall because I can't slow down. But it would be pretty cool, and I think it'd be a super good adrenaline rush, right?
Yes.
Just to do something like that.
It's quite like just a quick hard hitting thing, because obviously they normally just do 4 laps, which is normally about a minute. So it's just. Have
you done the Speedway?
I had a go at it. My dad and my uncle are professionals in the UK, so that's why I sort of got that side of my family that did that, and I did have a go. And yeah, it's a totally different thing, because obviously where the motocross bike's quite high, I was on a 125 at the time, 2-stroke like you, and then you sort of sit down on it, it's really low. Yeah, and it's a weird thing because you have to like put the gas on, commit to the corner to make the back brake out. And when you shut it off, it almost goes like into a neutral, like in a car. So it sort of would just sort of go away from you. So if you shut
Right.
off halfway around the corner thinking I need to shut off, it would just literally go worse. It would like pick up and just take off in this neutral gear. So it's like you had to commit to it.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds
Yeah,
pretty awesome, though.
yeah. But yeah, it was good.
So how many times have you think you've done Speedway? Have you done it quite a bit, or just tried it
No,
once? Or
I literally tried it once and
oh
took to
man,
it straight away as well. I think that's what I was sort of supposed to do. But my mum did not want me to do it. My locals thing where I live in Swindon, they wanted me to ride and sign and stuff like that. My mum's like, no way over my dead body. My dad had nearly died quite a few times because obviously back in the 70s, in that time, it was very dangerous that people would die like quite regular and the fences were pretty naughty and stuff like that. But it's a lot safer now with the air fences they've got and stuff like that now. But
are
yeah,
you
my
gonna
mum
give
was
it
not
another
having it.
go?
Not now. I'm a broken man. You know what it's like with the injuries and all that. I've got a bad, dodgy back and all that. It's like,
Right. Yeah. One wrong
I'd love
mishap
to.
and you're back in the hospital again, right? You don't
Yeah,
want
one of
that.
them
Too
ones.
old to
Yeah,
break bones now.
that's it, mate. Yeah. But yeah, I did. I was supposed to do that, but there we go. I carried on with my motocross and did all right in the UK and that. So yeah, that was good. Good times anyway.
Nice.
So what was I going to say to you? Did you have any weird nicknames or anything? Did you have any nicknames going?
How do you know this? How do you know this stuff? Yeah. Well, my last name is Johnson, so I had people calling me Big. You remember the T-shirt back in the day? It was Big Johnson T-shirts.
Yeah.
So people just started calling me. It was actually Don Maeda. He started calling me Big, and it just kind of, stuck. And then CJ was something that, I mean, everyone uses the initials these days, right? So CJ was one. I had one from Pingree that he started calling me Parker, just out of the blue. Pingree started calling me Parker, and because there was a baseball player named Parker Johnstone, I think his name was.
Right. Okay.
And then Ernesto heard him say that to me. He was like, Parker. And then so every time I hung out with Ernesto, he's like, "What's up, Parker?" I don't look like a Parker, I don't think. But so it was a really weird name, but only a few people knew that one. But yeah, Big was kind of catchy. I actually had it on my butt patch.
I was just about to say about that. Yeah.
If you can find a picture of that, it just says Big on my butt, and maybe everyone thought I had a big butt or something at that time. I don't know, but yeah, it was just a funny little nickname. Just Big Johnson, like the T-shirt, and I just thought maybe people can interpret that however they want. So that's kind of funny, a nickname to have.
Did you have any other names on the old butt patches? Because they were like quite always used to have. Well, a lot of the riders have cool ones on, don't they? And funny ones and quirky ones. Did you have any others?
No, that's pretty much it. In 2001, for the team that you saw when I was number 27, Shift just put CJ on the back of all my pants, and so it was just CJ, and I think Art Ekman. You remember Art Ekman? He was a guy
I know Art Ekman. Yeah, I loved his voice. Yeah, man.
So I remember Art Ekman was the first one that I heard him say CJ, and I was just like, CJ, maybe he's the original guy that started just calling everyone by their initials,
Yeah.
Well, but now CJ, Parker to a couple people, but it just was basically Pingree and Ernesto. But yeah, nothing else. Just Casey, just Casey.
And I literally, I'm not ashamed to say, because I've done a couple of, we've done a couple of big, as it turned out, big reunion events. Doing one again next month. I've actually got a picture of you on my one. There you go.
Oh, sweet.
Yes. My reunion 3's coming out, so this is the third meeting now, which is amazing to even do one meeting, let alone onto the third. But yeah, so I even ended up doing the commentary, and literally I was like, it was like a dream to be like Art Ekman. His voice was so iconic with all the supercrosses and motocrosses in the 90s, all on the videos we got in the UK. Yeah, I loved his commentary, and I even tried quoting a couple of things he said and stuff like
Cool, let's hear it.
that.
What did he say? What is it?
You know, like the way he used to say 125 and all that. We don't say like that in the UK and all that. So I had to break some of them out.
Yeah.
I did,
Oh,
yeah.
that's funny.
Oh, it was funny. It was brilliant. I even tried to. He must be getting on a bit now. Is he still around?
Art?
Yeah.
Man, he's got to be in his 70s.
It's got to be, yeah, because I'm
Yeah.
46 now, and I was in my teenagers when I was watching him.
Yeah, I was like getting
He was
interviewed
fairly
by him
old
when
then.
I was like 25, and I think
Yeah,
he was probably in his 50s
yeah.
when he was
I,
interviewing me. So yeah, he's
mm,
got to be maybe close to
I even
70.
I even tried to find him because it come up on something, and I tried to find him on Facebook, and he was on there. I tried to friend request, but I don't think he goes on it. But I was like, oh, I'd love to get him on. Just the
He's an
voice,
icon. Yeah,
he's the voice, man.
I actually think he's the guy that would do opening ceremonies too. Do you know that? He would
No.
be like, riding number 22.
Oh yeah.
You know that
Maybe.
voice, that deep? I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that was him.
Was it?
But I think it was but no one ever really knew. And
No, I didn't know
but
that.
I
Yeah.
think that was actually him doing
Yeah, was
that.
it?
So we gotta check into that, because
I know.
I'd
I need
love to hear
to.
you kind of do that
I
imitation
know. Yeah,
of
yeah.
Ken Roxon, however he did it. But
He was so good, and him and David Bailey together and all that. I just remember it, and I just literally fall asleep to that every night watching videos.
yeah, the 90s were awesome to listen to, like Bailey and Art Ekman, and obviously breaking down the nationals and doing the supercrosses, and they were Art, his voice, and it was just iconic for sure.
That's very cool. I've got a nice one here. Someone's put, was that Little Red 184 on YouTube? Want to give a shout out to Casey for all he does for the kids in the motor community here. Join the podcast as well, so you must know them guys.
Thank you, Ryan. Yeah, that's my buddy Ryan and his son Logan there, and it looks like that might be a picture of either Riverfront or East Street, and that bridge in the background. I can't tell, but yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate the shout out. I just talked to him the other day for a few hours on the phone, and I've been working with his son here kind of recently, and we just kind of connected, and so yeah, good little rider, and so yeah, pretty cool that he said he was going to get on here. So
looks
thanks,
like
man.
you're appreciated as well. So Darren's just put best interview yet, Yuli.
Oh, really? Whoa,
Nice. We've been doing these for a
Thank
couple of years. That's good. He's obviously enjoying that. That's perfect. Beautiful.
This interview almost didn't happen. Trust me. Like, I switched from
You were
an
that close.
iPad to this
Yeah.
computer at my buddy's office.
Yeah.
With what, a few minutes to go?
Yeah.
I didn't even know how this actually, it just came about. Like, I say, hey, I can't get this iPad going. I don't know how to do it. I'm so illiterate when it comes to computers. So I'm pretty stoked that this actually even happened. It was pretty close to not happening.
Yeah, I would like to say thanks to your buddy as well for hooking you up to do this today. I appreciate it. Say thanks to me anyway to your buddy. Right, this is a difficult one. Who would you consider, if I had to push you on it, to be the 3 best riders that you've ever raced against in your career, and why? Ooh,
Best riders.
whenever you raced was stacked.
Wow. Well, since I went to the 250 class in 2001.
Yep.
McGrath, Ricky, and Kevin Windham. Ricky was the youngest, so when we were kind of coming up through the amateur ranks, he was a kid that I never really was like. He's like the younger brother, right? Like, he's not going to be better than me, but he came up and became better than everybody. Kevin was always my rival.
Yeah.
And then McGrath was always someone I looked at like, as I want to learn from him and be like him. And so McGrath, Windham, and Carmichael, mainly because those 3 different things. MC was he's the king of Supercross, right? There's a reason he's got 72 wins, and no one's probably ever going to beat that. And Kevin Windham, just that he was so talented on a dirt bike, he never looked like he was trying. he was so smooth and effortless, and he'd make me so mad because that's the person I always wanted to beat really bad. And then Ricky, he was just the young one that came up through the ranks and ended up beating everybody and intimidating everybody too. You know, like I remember being in the semi with him after practice, and he's just laughing. I'm like, what's so funny? He's like, oh, I was out there jacking with Kevin in practice. And he did it on purpose because that way Kevin knew by the time the race came that Ricky could pass him. He just jacked with him all the time. But that's what Ricky did. He went out and practiced, and he just messed around with all the guys that could possibly win that day.
Yeah.
He'd go out and practice. He'd get behind them, and then he would pass them, and then he would try to pull away, and then he'd come into the rig after practice, and he'd just be like, "Yeah, I passed Kevin," and and all this stuff, and you just knew that he was trying to jack him up mentally.
Yeah,
and it worked. And it worked.
Yeah. Got a nice little. It's a good one.
Yeah, that's a cool picture there. I think that's Bud Creek too. So we got K-Dub,
Yeah,
Huffy in there.
Huffman, yeah. Let's see, who's that on the tree? Honda. Is that Craig? Maybe.
Where?
And number 15, just on the outside.
Oh yeah, Mike Craig. Right
Mike
there.
Craig, yeah. Yeah, I thought that was Craig.
RC's kind of buried in there behind Huffy.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Ping, Decker. But
it's on a proper slant out of that corner as well, isn't it? It's like a.
It was
away.
Yeah, it was a really weird start. It went uphill and hard right, and that dirt looks so prime, doesn't it? Just super wet and not one bit of dust. That's the 90s for you.
Yeah, beautiful 90s.
Basically, the track looked like it's got pebbles of just hard.
It does, yeah.
I guess that's why I wore a chest checker. That was a good shot there with me. That was probably when Renard was about to pass me at Binghamton, I think.
Was it?
For the win.
He always seemed to come through, didn't he? And he was very talented, wasn't he? He's very precise. Yeah, he was a good rider, wasn't
he? He carried the most phenomenal speed around the track. Lines that, like, I didn't even see the lines he'd be taking because a lot of the times if he passed me, it was like I was tied to a tree. So I could follow him for about a corner. When he was on, I could probably follow him for a corner, but then he'd be gone. Like the Unadilla in 98, he came and passed me, and then he caught Ricky and pulled away from Ricky. And I remember after that race, Ricky was like, he's on a cheater bike. He's on a cheater bike. There's no way he can come up and pass me and pull away like that. But that's Robbie Renard, man. That guy was the fastest guy on the planet when he was on.
Yeah, definitely. I remember that one as well when he came in past Carmichael as well. I think they can still watch that on YouTube now. I've seen that. They were cool setups as well, them bikes. I know you said that was the fastest one as well, but that was a cool setup when you had.
Yeah, everything was looking really cool that year too with Sinisalo, and that gear was like I think it was basically just made for our team. But yeah, super cool. I can't really see the big butt patch on my butt, but I think that one's.
No, I can't quite see it. No, that was my chance.
There's Brandis in the shot right there.
Yep, just on the side.
And Lytle.
Yeah, Casey, another Casey.
Yeah.
Was that two heads turning around?
Yeah, I actually sent that picture to Brandis the other day after you sent it to me. And I said, what's up, dude? You're not even happy. You're on the podium and you're not even happy. And,
you two are buzzing.
He's like, well, I got third, dude. Come on. So, yeah.
That like Glenn
That's
Helen
a cool
possibly?
shot.
I like the little breaking one down there. That's good. I like that one. That might even be Glen Helen as well, isn't it? Maybe. That's Glen Helen.
That's Glen Helen.
That was proper steep. That was when I was talking to you about that Fox Hill. That's like got proper steep hills, like you probably say an old like a sort of a French track, like really steep hills. You can't walk up them. That's your version of like the Glen Helen, I think. Like those hills are pretty crazy, aren't they?
they're a lot bigger in person than they are on TV. I'll tell you that.
Takes it away, doesn't it, on TV?
Yeah. I think there's been a few like European riders that have come over and raced, and they've actually mentioned that the hills are a lot steeper here in person than they are in videos and on TV for sure. But yeah, I mean, if you can, I remember one year that Jimmy Button was probably 98. Jimmy Button passed me on the downhill, and I'm like, I am not going that fast down that thing. He was cooking. He was cooking down that hill.
A few of them have gone down there with the old legs out the back as well, haven't they? You get the old
I
breaking
think Dean
bones.
Wilson crashed on that downhill one year.
Gnarly,
yeah. So it's claimed quite a few people, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I've got about 3 or 4 more questions. If that's all right? Is that all right with you?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. If you could give any advice, Casey, to any of the guys, I know you work a lot with the youth guys now, some that wanted to go pro. What's your advice to them guys? I know there's a lot of things in it, but is there any things that you would, some main pointers for the guys that want to go pro?
Well, start getting serious a little earlier. I waited too long to actually get a program going. A lot of kids nowadays are at like these training facilities, so they're like homeschooled, and so they're at a training facility, and that's all they're doing is training with other riders day in day out, and that's why they're winning Loretta Lynn's. That's why they're winning most of these amateur nationals, because they're riding every single day with these certain riders that run up front. So my advice is, when you go to the track, don't just ride your laps. Go there and work on some corners, right? So Ricky's program was 240s and an hour of corners every single day. That's what Ricky did. He spent an hour of corners. I mean, this is a guy who's got a #1 plate, and he still does an hour of corners every single day.
Wow.
So I watch a lot of kids go to the track. Parents bring them there. They ride their laps, and by the end of the day, they load up and go home. But they still have bad habits. They're not working on anything. They're just going and doing laps, and then they're not practicing any corners at all. And they think they're going to get better. You know, oh, I'm going to get better. And yeah, time on the bike, it's going to take a lot longer. But my advice is, go pick 3 or 4 corners at the end of the day and go work on those corners, and don't just work on them like just go hit them. Focus on your technique, focus on your form, focus on things that maybe like watch some pro riders go through there and then mimic them. Don't just go through that corner like how you would go through the corner, sitting in the middle of the seat. You know, if it's a left-hander, riding the back brake all the way through there. You know, where you are on the bike. You know, a lot of times I tell kids with being on the bike is, if their shoulder is hanging past down the bars, that's going to push the front end, because a lot of kids come into corners and they push the front end and they go down and they don't understand why they're falling. And I say, well, because when you come into the corner, you drop your right shoulder if it's a right-hander, and then you put a lot of pressure on that tire, and then you tuck it, and then you fall. But you don't know why you're falling. I said, when you come into a corner, try to take your left shoulder and just lean over to the left a little bit as you're turning right. It's just compensating the weight of the bike. But that's what I'd have to say is, my advice is, focus on stuff that you're not good at. If you're struggling in corners during race day, if you're 4 seconds a lap slower than the leaders, it's not off the jumps typically. It's always in the corners. So you either focus on your braking points, so you're not coming in fast enough and you're shutting off too early. So there's quite a few things that you can work on to try to get better. But a lot of these kids, they just go to the track, they ride, and then they just go home thinking that when the race comes, they're going to be ready to run up front, and they're way off the pace because they don't work nearly hard enough at it.
Do you enjoy teaching that into the kids?
I love it. I love it. That's what makes me happy, is seeing a kid progress, seeing him understanding and applying. And because ultimately, I say this this phrase a lot. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And I can give these kids everything they need to try to get better. I'll even write it down on a piece of paper for them. And a lot of them won't even go out and work on the stuff. They just go out there and they just continue to ride. But it's my passion. I love seeing kids that will listen and then apply it. And small improvements are being made, right? Every little piece of the puzzle that it takes to make that puzzle complete. And so I love giving out the information and the tips that I can give to people and try to be very helpful with that.
Very cool. Thanks for that. This is a bit of a hard question, but if you had the power to change anything in the motocross or supercross, is there anything that you would change in any way?
Pro payback. These riders are risking their lives to put on a show for these people. It's like the Coliseum days, you got the gladiators, right? And the people in the stands are just drinking and it's there for a show. These riders don't make nearly enough.
No.
Not at all.
No.
And I wish that these guys that qualify for a 450 main event, even the guys, the 20th place guys, or even the guys that like make the night show, that they spent all their money to drive across country to go there and they don't make the main event, but they go to the LCQs. It's embarrassing the money that they get paid to be some of the best riders in the world. Like they are the best riders in the world, besides some of the Europeans coming over and trying. But in America, these are the best that we have. And the fact that the factory companies, they make their living off their bonuses from the factories, and the pro payback is embarrassing what these riders get for Supercross from the promoter. It's embarrassing. So I would love to see something change with that, because at the end of the day, when their career's over, you hope that you made enough money that you don't have to go get a job at McDonald's and just try to support yourself, because you were one of the best in America. Let's just take a 15th place guy in a 450 main that works pretty hard. The guy should never have to work a day in his life, but yet he will have to one day. And that's horrible that someone has to go do the sport they love, work at it with all their heart, spend hours and hours and hours to become a professional at their craft, and then have to get a job when it's all said and done. So nobody should have to get a job if they're making main events at Supercrosses and outdoors.
Yeah, they've been risking their neck their whole lives, haven't they? Yeah, I think that's like that as well, Casey, in the GPs and stuff like that. Now you've probably seen, I don't know if you've seen it, but there was smaller lineups, and because it was only sort of a certain amount of teams, and then the privateer thing almost like falls away because there's no prize money and all that. Where in the 80s and 90s and all that, they had good prize money to qualify, and you'd get some decent money out of it. But obviously, all that's been taken away from that side of it now. So yeah, it's not great.
I follow the GP series. I love watching those guys.
Yeah.
Yep. Every weekend, I try to get on and watch them. And only way I can really do that is through like YouTube. You get to watch like some of the motos and stuff rather than just the highlights. But yeah, I follow those guys, and those guys are amazing riders. A lot of talent there, and those guys should obviously be able to make a living, and not just the top elite guys, the guys that running 10th, 11th, 12th place. Those guys should be compensated. And if this was golf, the 12th place guy would be making millions of dollars.
Yeah, exactly.
I know we're not, motocross ain't nowhere near golf, but golfers aren't risking their lives.
Yeah, exactly.
And getting broken femurs and breaking bones. They might have little injuries or whatever, but they're not getting surgeries, putting plates and screws and pins in their bodies.
It's very hard, isn't it? The sport's very hard. What about these? What's your thoughts on these? Obviously, a lot of talk now and everything. Everyone's going on about these electric bikes and everything. And I see, I did an interview with Tortelli, a couple actually, and he's obviously involved in one of the bikes and stuff like that. Have you got to have a go on one of those yet, or?
Haven't tried one. I think it would be super cool to try one of those. But if that is the future, and we're going to hear a lot of zzz, zzz, zzz around the track rather than a dirt bike sound, that's going to take some adjusting to get used to hearing something like that. Because you could probably be in the stands and not even realize the main event just took off, right? You'd be like, oh, the race is going on, can't hear it. I think that is the future, though. You know, we're heading that way. But just like two strokes back in the day, you know, nobody was really thinking that it was going to be four strokes now, and hardly any two-stroke riders. So yeah, things are changing, progressing, the future, technology. So that might be the future. I mean, these KTM kids during the show, they're all on electric bikes. So so yeah, I mean, I would not like to see it go that way because I love the four-stroke sound.
Yeah, I'm the same. Yeah.
I love the smell of race fuel. You know, nothing better than coming up behind someone's tailpipe and getting a whiff. And, oh, what are you guys running? Oh, okay, that's some good fuel right there.
Yeah,
that's not pump gas.
I know exactly that. Yeah, for sure. I even feel the same. Like even when I do these reunions, we bring a lot of the two strokes backs now. It's very popular over here to bring all the two strokes back, which everyone loves as well. So yeah, I wouldn't like it to go all that way, but it looks like it's going to probably go away, probably on the basis of saving tracks and noise and all this sorts of stuff that a lot of the tracks get lost for now, especially over here as well. Not too sure about the America, but yeah, a lot of the tracks have closed and things like that. So I suppose if it's a way of it's still happening in the future, I suppose that could be the way it's going.
Yeah, yeah. I think the noise will that's one of the number one complaints I think with tracks around here in California too is noise. So
yeah. Before we finish up, then, what's the future plans for you? Obviously, carry on with your motocross training and.
Yeah, so I'm just going to continue to coach riders, do a little track prep here and there if they need me. You know, my buddy, like I said, he's working on this water line. It's not launched yet, and so I've been helping him just with the production line of things. So when he does, launch, it'd be something cool to be a part of. But yeah, I just like to stick to something that I love to do. You know, I don't want to go to work and be miserable, right? Like no one wants to work and be miserable and come home from the end of the day of working and go, I hate my life. So I enjoy training riders. It's the only thing that I really have a passion for.
Yeah.
And so I'll continue to do that and then just have some fun riding my dirt bike. You know, I love just going riding and having fun and going riding with some buddies and just going and having a good time and leaving in one piece at the end of the day is the main thing.
Exactly, mate. What's the name of this new drink then?
So it's called Indivi. And it stands for individual. And what he has is, a lot of these water bottles, they're just clear. They're clear bottles, right? So here's one here. Here's so they're different labels. And so what he's doing is, let's say you got like kids at your house and they open up a water. If it's a normal water bottle, you don't know whose is whose. It's half full. So you end up just throwing it away. Right. So, if you go somewhere like kids or an event or something, nobody knows there's all these half drinking water bottles. So that's the reason he started it, because he has kids and he's sick of finding these half drinking water bottles going, whose is this? Whose is this? So, and nobody knows. But if you can go, hey, Scott, was yours the blue one? And he'll be like, yeah, mine was blue. Well, then finish it, So he's got all sorts of different colors. And so that's the main thing that's driving him is just this. When you get a water, you'll know it's yours. And
that's a good idea.
Pretty genius as far as the marketing side. So he's in the process of getting the license for it and everything. And so we've just been producing water, and I just been at the tracks, like passing it out to people. He's been passing it out to people. So that when it finally does he can start doing it and selling it, we'll give it, a shot in the moto community. and hopefully it will just, like kind of like Monster started, right? With
Yep.
everybody in the moto community just promoting it and trying to get it to where it was uh, getting kind of a bigger thing. So
Sounds like a good concept. I wish you guys all the best for that. Good luck with that.
thank you, buddy.
No problem. Any shouts outs you want to make? You're on social media. If anyone wanted to give you a message, send you a picture of your racing days, or they might have some of yours a day. Is it Facebook to contact you on?
So yeah, I am on social media these days. I'm on Facebook. I'm got an Instagram. I think Casey Johnson 111 is my Instagram. My Facebook, I don't really know. I think it's just Casey Johnson. Not sure.
Yes, it is. Yes,
Um,
it is. Yeah.
and no, just a few of the people that help me, like my buddy Darwin from Motul. He sends me some oils and stuff for my bike because everything's a little expensive these days.
Yeah.
I walked into a dealership called Roseville Honda the other day, and I spent like a couple $100 almost in brake pads and a chain guide. And so I walked in and I was like, hey man, you may not know who I am or not, but I was wondering, is there any way to get a discount? Because it's expensive to buy this stuff.
Yeah.
So Roseville Honda kind of started giving me some discounts on parts and stuff. So, but yeah, other than that, not too much. This guy helps me out a lot with stuff, and his name's Scott Davis. He's an ex-pro rider. So he helps me out quite a bit with stuff, and so yeah, just a couple of those guys that help me out. I really appreciate it.
Is that drink, is that going to be like are you just going to target like America, or are you is that going to be a long term going to Europe and all that as well? Or?
It just depends how long it takes for it to kind of take off.
Yeah.
He's going to start here in the Northern California area, and if it ends up catching on to where like it ends up in Europe someday, who knows? But I think right now he's not really even worried about that. He just kind of wants to get it going, and wherever happens. He runs a business called Mud Factor right now, where it's people doing mud runs.
Oh,
so he's kind of doing that at the moment. That's his business, is doing the mud runs.
Yep.
So, but in the water thing's just kind of on the side for right now until he gets it kind of going. So, but I would think it would catch on and be huge, especially in families where kids all have their same, their own colors of water.
Yep. My brother's got a few kids, and it is exactly that, how you say it. I've been over there, and everyone's got cans and drinks everywhere, and it's like they're all half drunk. And like you said, they just get thrown because no one wants to drink someone else's. So
yeah,
it's a good idea. It's a really good idea.
Yeah, it's he's super smart when it comes to like the business side of that stuff.
Very cool. Well, I wish you all the best with it anyway, and let us know how you get on. We'll keep in contact anyway, Casey.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it, Lee.
I really appreciate your time, mate. Absolute superstar. Loved watching your career as well, myself personally. And it's really cool to be able to speak to you. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you. And let's talk soon. And maybe we can even get to Fox Hill. Who knows? I don't know. I'm going to start doing a lot more riding, and I might have to actually start doing some cycling or something too. So, but we'll talk soon. We'll keep in touch.
Yeah, I know those guys. So yeah, we'll keep in touch 100%. Great to speak in person anyway. Thanks, buddy.
Thank
you. Much
you.
appreciated.
Have a
Cheers,
great day.
Casey. Thank you, mate, and you. Much appreciated. Thank you to your buddy as well for sorting you out today.
I will. I definitely will. Thank you, buddy. Have a good one.
Thank you, mate. Cheers, buddy. Thank you. What a legend, Casey Johnson. What a man. Awesome to speak to him. Enjoyed that. Thanks, Craig, as well. Craig Hahn. Safe Swansea MX. He's getting his track together in Wales as well. And he told me he'd been speaking to Casey Johnson. He said, "Do you remember Casey Johnson?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I remember him on the pro circuit and Troy Lee Designs Yam and all that." And he said he'd been speaking to him lately, so he hooked me up, and I found him on Facebook. So thanks to Craig. There he is, my man. Cheers, buddy. All the best with your track. He's doing loads of work on his track down in Wales, so hopefully he'll have something for you guys to go and have a ride soon. he's been doing a lot of work down there, so I'll keep you in the loop on that as well. So he's doing a lot of hard work. Fair play to him. And it'd be great to see him have a track. He deserves it, all the work he's been putting in over the last few years of his stuff. So well done to Craig. And yeah, that was cool. Thanks, mate. I appreciate that you were talking to Casey and let me know about it. So that was great to get him on. Much appreciated, buddy. Hi, Tim. Hope you're good, bud. Hope you're getting the fitness in, Tim. You're riding 2 groups in the reunion. I'm not sure who that was, but thank you very much. The top rider back in the day. Yeah, great to get him on. Great to speak to these. Well, they were all superstars, weren't they? Yeah, it's really cool. Like when I was sort of speaking to him, whenever you speak to the guest, you're like, Jesus. I remember like watching you on all these Motorvision tapes, like we did in the UK, and like we was talking about Art, the commentator. I've been trying to get hold of it. I tried to chase him on Facebook, but I don't think he's on there. So I don't know if anyone's managed to ever speak to him, but I'd love to get him on. Just that the voice, wasn't it? Love the old voices, and I remember dropping some lines from Art in the old commentary at our reunions. Made a few of my own up though, don't worry. Got to have a few Ashby quotes. But yeah, really cool. I've got a really cool one as well Monday night, so hopefully everyone will be about on Monday. I knew the old England football's on tonight as well for all the football fans that are on as well, but this would be great to share this out there and get it shared out there for everyone to see when it gets recorded, which I'll put it all out there tomorrow at some point. But yeah, I'm doing a live interview on Monday night 7 p.m. with Brad Anderson, the British Bulldog himself, so that should be really cool. I think everyone will be interested in that one. And then on Tuesday night I'm doing a interview 7 o'clock again with Australian star Sam Masters, who rides for the Oxford Cheetahs in the 2nd tier league, and he rides for Wolverhampton Wolves in the top league in the British Speedway. Great rider. So that'd be cool to get him on the Tuesday. He's having his testimonial this Sunday as well, so that'd be great to chat to him about that. Then hopefully I'm going to be at Oxford Speedway on the Wednesday night, where Swindon Robbins are down there in a challenge match. So fingers crossed the weather chills the hell out before then, and we get to go to that with my Laney Lou. And then on Thursday night, I've got British Speedway legend Mr. Peter Collins, who's also an MBE. So that's a really cool one to get on as well. He's going to come on the phone call with me and get him on the live as well. So really looking forward to that. So yeah, any of you guys out there want to get involved in our reunion, let me know. There's my old man in the background of that one. Reunion 3. Love his comment. Love his quote that he gives to me. It's nice to be important, but it's important to be nice, eh, Craig? So it's a good job there's lads like him around. There's plenty of nice guys out there that I've speak to quite regularly, and we all try and help each other in ways we can. Get booked into the reunion. There's another man that helps out with me, even with my back that time as well. What a legend, Leon Day, great rider as well. Back in the 90s, he rode for Team Green as well, that man. Great rider. He's going to be there in the vets. There's his trick set up last year, and he's already got his... Looking forward to seeing his trick trailer that he's got. And yeah, he'll be on the old Roseview Kawasaki as well. So he's got a new set of stuff out as well. So it'll be interesting to see that. It'll be really cool. So yeah, get booked in with me. Literally a lot, nearly out of all the novices. I think we've got about 10 left now of novice 2. Novice 1's full. I've only got 2 spots, I think it's left in the juniors on any bike. Got about a quarter of a group left in the inters, any bike. I think I've only got 4 or 5 spots left now in the vets over 45. Yeah, and then we've obviously got a few other groups if you want to get into them. MX1, MX2 will be combined but scored separately. Also, the 125 class to Vivo Super Evo, get involved in that because that's one of my favourite groups, just the 125s. And then also the 250 500 Evo Super Evo as well we got. So get in touch and get booked in. Don't miss it. Ride it. Ride it. Also, I've got the new comp out as well. That we got 2 of the premium, basically VIP. 2, they've called them premium this year, but 2 premium tickets to the round 1 of the World Supercross Championship. This in the UK. Last year it was in Cardiff that I actually that was amazing. I got to see that and see Tomax and your Roxons and all them guys and Anstey mixing it in with them. And yeah, that was amazing. This year it's Villa Park, which is obviously Aston Villa's football ground, for those that don't know. And that's sort of like in the Birmingham area. So that's Saturday, the 1st of July. So our comp is 2 of the premium pass tickets, which is worth over £500. And including that in this year, which is really cool. Not only do you see the practice, and I can give you the actual word on that because I went there last time when we went VIP with Kev. Fair play to him. Took me VIP, so thanks to my man. We got to go there and you see all the practice when everyone else doesn't. It's just got a normal ticket, so that was cool to see the practice. But then also this time they've added a pit walk into this premium ticket as well, so that's really cool. You're going to get to go into the pits for all the riders and all that, so you'll be getting close to all the superstars, as it were. So that'd be pretty cool. And also a hotel stay for the two as well, which would be nearby to the stadium. So, like, you know, it's a Saturday night after you finish, you can go to a few bars, have a few drinks after the Supercross, and then crash back to the hotel. So yeah, so get involved with that if you want. It's only numbers 1 to 100, so there's only 100 in it before a live draw. Also, good concept from my man Craig as well. First time I've done that. We've been doing them for a couple of years, but yeah, you can get your numbers, any amount of numbers you want. You don't prepay for it, and then once I've done all the numbers, then I'll come back to you and ask you for the payment then. So let me know if you want to get involved. Thank you very much for this evening. Good night and God bless all. I will keep you all informed of everything that's going on. So yeah, interview Monday, Tuesday and Thursday next week. So looking forward to that. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and I will get this out there. Share it just if you can. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Motocross and Spear Memories. That'd be appreciated. It's free. You can catch up with any of these live or Skype ones I did from a couple of years ago. They're all on there. It's all recorded, so you can watch them anytime in your own time, in bed or whatever you want to do in your own time. So it's cool to be able to do. And yeah, if you share any of my posts, I appreciate it on the reunion, and share any of the interviews that I put out there. It would be much appreciated as well. Thank you very much. Good night and God bless. Cheers. Speak to you soon.